What's up, painting friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stoof, and today we are going to do a painting tutorial of this wolf right here. This is the finished painting. We're using acrylic paint on canvas panel. This video was requested by one of my subscribers a few months ago. Sorry it took a little while to get to this one, but here it is, finished painting. Real quick, I wanted to let you know that I haven't done this in so long and I'm so angry at myself, but I deleted the footage for the last hour of this tutorial. So the part where I teach you how to paint the actual fur on the wolf's back is not in this video, but we do cover painting the details in the face and getting the accurate shapes and proportions for the wolf. So I hope you guys stick around. All right, our materials for today are a palette. This is just a disposable palette, sheet palette. We have acrylic paints. I'm using primarily my Liquitex soft-bodied acrylics, but there are some other brands in there. I will leave a list of the paint colors in the description under this video, but to quickly go through what we have here, we have bronze yellow, Mars black, burnt umber, dioxazine purple, burnt sienna, flesh tint, phthalo blue, vivid lime green, sap green, yellow azo, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, light blue violet, and titanium white. We have an 11-inch by 14-inch canvas panel today. And I also have a cup of water. I have some napkins. These are the Viva paper towel napkins. And I have my ruler because I'm going to be using the grid method just to sketch out the concept. And for brushes, I just grabbed a handful of what I might need. I'm not sure if I'll actually use all of these, but I know I'm definitely going to be using some liner brushes or finer brushes for some of the hairs on the wolf. And we have these 1/2-inch angled brushes and filbert brushes and flat tip brushes that'll block in some of the shapes in the beginning. And this is just like a nice frayed brush that I can use for some of the grasses and like the fluffier parts of the fur that don't need to be super detailed. So I'm starting with just some burnt umber. You can use any earthy or cool color for this. And I'm just putting tick marks every 3.5 inches since we're using 11 by 14. It just is easier for me to create a grid with every 3.5 inches. And then for top to bottom, you start at the top because you're gonna have a little left over at the bottom. And we are going to start to just kind of sketch out the shape of the wolf. I have a grid on my reference photo, and I just sketched out the grid on the painting here with these dots, kind of turned this into a little grid pattern. So I can line up where the shape of the head should go and all that stuff. So my proportions and shapes are accurate to what I'm seeing in my reference photo. So just to like kind of get an idea of how the eyes are, we've got the head like slanted, and the top of this eye is a little farther down. Eyes are kind of like this. There's about an eye. This eye. So if we break this grid into 4, like this, make it even smaller, then we can see that this top eye is about this size, something like that, and the lower eye is still above that line. It's kind of a little more like this. Yeah, a little bit more like that. So we got the eyes sketched. Now let's work on the nose. So if we're still in this little mini grid in this one grid, we can see that the nose comes to about the halfway, and it does not come halfway between this one and that one. And if we separate this one into halves, I'd say it's just about that at that halfway point there. Comes down just a little below. And then there's a highlight here, like that. He's got his little nostrils in there too, which we don't have to go into too much detail for yet. All right, so we got the basic shape. I want to make sure this is also kind of staying parallel to the eyes, making sure this is reading accurately. All right, that looks good. And then he's got like a little line going there. Got a little bit. He's got some white fur over the eyes. It's like his little doggy eyebrows. And under the eye, I don't want to get too detailed yet. I'm gonna get a little more water on my brush, and we're gonna sketch the mouth line. Kind of just comes right up here. Straight little line. Curves up a little there. And here, does that a little bit. He's got his little chops. Got a little dark shadow under there. And this is all pretty much in shadow here too. I've got a line. Kind of just comes like that. And then just following the shape of his face, he's got a little line coming down there. And his face looks kind of chubby, but I think that's just all the fur, because everything's lining up pretty well here. And then for the head, we've got this about halfway point here. I think maybe make the eye a little bigger. Same with this one, just a little bit bigger. And then we got all this fur. This is all fur over here too. I was just following the basic shape. I'm gonna take a little black here because there's a spot from here down. This is all kind of shadowy gray color. And then coming back to the head, we've got the fur up here obviously, and then it comes down around there like that. Got some light hitting this ear and some more hair up here. That'll make it look more normal once we get to that spot with more detail. All right, and then this ear, so here's like our grid line here. There's like the center up and down. This ear doesn't quite touch there. We've got more fur here. This is where that gray fur is again. And then looking at the ear, it's coming up. That's about, it gets about that high. And then it's just kind of a straight line with a little curve at the bottom to get there. And that's basically the face for the wolf. He's got like a, he's got his little jawline here that'll define his face a little better. We'll get to that more later. But for now, we got the basic sketch for the face. Now, I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Now let's just get the rest of the fur here. So there's more fur right there, and this body kind of comes in, and he's got some paws coming down here. This paw is down there. Bring this up for you. Chin there. Chest area. Just a lot of fur. There's a little bit of grass sticking through here, kind of covering his legs up a little. We'll get to more of that later too. Let's come back over here. He's got some fur just starting to stick up there, coming down, and then we've got his body coming all the way back, and his back leg comes through center there. Got some fur. All right, and then I got a lot of fur. So that's about it for the sketch. Now we have the wolf like basically sketched out, and we're going to start filling in some color for the background. All right, so we're taking some sap green, some light blue violet, take a little bit of cobalt, and that's a good background color to start with. And I'm just going to fill in everything right up to the wolf's outer shape. If I made a lot of fur in one spot, I'm going to cover that up even more so that the fur is going over the background color and we don't leave any white space. Just adjusting that shape a little. Gonna mix a little bit more my light blue violet in there. And now I'm going to mix a little bit of Phthalo, Ultramarine, and a little more Cobalt too. Mix a little bit of flesh tint in there with some of my light blue violet. I'm trying to work quickly here so that the paint stays wet enough for me to keep working on it. I'm gonna mix a little bit of umber in there too. Making things a little darker and cooler around the borders of the canvas, just to help kind of draw your attention even more onto the wolf. Take some more umber and some black. Just gonna darken up something. There's like a I don't know, some dirt exposed here, or a log or something. There's a little bit of that back here too. And a little bit up in this corner. You guys can make the background color be anything you'd like. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing here. So just mix a little bit of burnt sienna and some white in here. Taking my angle brush and going up and down to make it look like we've got some grass in front of this muddy brown section here. And what else? We got some grass down here, but we're going to do that later because that's in front of the wolf. We're going to work from background to foreground. Let's take some of our vivid lime green and some yellow azo and a little bit of our white. Just blend that in with the colors we already had. And we can start to just, if you're using an angle brush, this is definitely the best one for this. You can just add very quickly and loosely add some blades of grass, just holding the brush at an angle and letting it sketch those blades of grass in there. Make sure they're not all oriented the same way. And it helps if you make some more brush strokes and like blades of grass kind of like angled around the wolf, like him sitting here and laying down is kind of pushing the grass to the side a little bit. Helps to give him like some weight, like he's actually there resting in the grass. All right, now for the wolf's face, I'm going to start with this more frayed brush. I'm going to mix some white with a little bit of burnt sienna, and there's a little bit of this gray color getting it mixed in here too. I'm just going to start with that, like right here around the nose area, just filling that in. Anywhere I see this kind of color. And then we're going to take some white and some umber and some ultramarine. And we're going to put that color, I'm going to take a little bit of purple too. Put that color in here. And we've got more of this color, a little bit more purple up in the ear. And this ear. And we got some light blue violet mixed in there with some black for the fur over here. So I'm using this frayed brush, and it's great for getting the fur because it kind of touches the canvas in a few random spots. So the way that you get your brush to look like this is by leaving some paint on it and not washing it for a few days, and then with oil paint, and then go back and wash it and it will be frayed. Or if you just don't use a palette knife to blend your colors and you use your paintbrushes a lot, you can also get your brushes frayed that way. Mix some umber and ultramarine, just darkening the shadow in here. And then on this side of the eyes, we've got a little more the darker gray blues. And while we're at it, let's fill in the nose. So I'm just taking some of my light blue violet and some ultramarine and a little bit of Dioxazine Purple. And we're just going to fill in the nose, general shape. And then under the nose, this section is just black. Okay. And let's go in with, I'm going to clean this brush off because this is a really good brush. And we're going to take some oxide with some white and some sienna and some flesh tint. And we're going to use this color for right here. Got like a highlight right there. And I'll do a little bit of light blue violet, just so we're not using like a pure white here. And oh, you know what? Let me put a little bit of umber in there too. And we can start with this up here. Kind of blends in. Use a little more umber. So very gently pressing with the brush here. Letting it blend into the other color we had. And then we can use that umber, not umber, our light blue violet and white color. Can use a little more light blue violet down here. Just let the brush kind of push around and give you that fur look. And let's go back to umber with a little bit of ultramarine blue and put that color here. Got like a little border between the light and middle tone for the hair on the ear. And go back to that lighter color. Kind of comes down right here. And then some white with just a little bit of the other color that was on my brush before. If you guys are layering like I am here, you're layering like fur over fur. You always want to do the fur that's like farther behind and then move forward with the fur. So I'm starting with the, like that gray fur is behind this white fur. So I had to do the gray fur first so that the white fur is going over the gray fur and not just like, if you did the white fur first and then you tried to do the gray fur, you would have to go back and redo the white fur because there'd be like a gap. So I just blended a little bit of black and blue in here. Taking the brush and working it in. A little bit more white and light blue violet down here. Maybe a little bit of black too. A tiny bit of bronze yellow, and there's like a little tiny bit of black that was still in my brush. I'm gonna take a little flesh tint too. And that can be the color that we mostly use here. Just taking the brush and sweeping it up to create that fur. The direction that you orient your brush is important. Can make it look like your fur is, you know, like out of whack if you don't angle it properly. And let's put this forehead's gonna be tricky because he's got random patches of brown. It's like equally light gray and brown. So we're gonna layer. We started with the brown. Now we're gonna add the white, whitish gray color. And then we're gonna go back and add some brown again and see how that comes together for us. Like I said again, the way you orient your brush is important. So here the angle is like this. So basically from the nose, the hair starts to go back and then it starts to come to the sides a little bit, like the orientation of the hair follicles. So along the sides of the nose, it's kind of starting, the hair's kind of coming out and down, where right here in the center, the hair is just kind of going back, up and down. Mixing a little bit of flesh tint in there. Oh yeah, he's got like a little light gray spot there. And it's kind of lighter in the center here too. And then this side of the face is all in shadow, so white on this side of the face is going to be white with light blue violet and ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt umber. What else can we use? Like maybe like a hint of purple and maybe like a hint of oxide or bronze yellow. It's a little too dark. It's mostly white and light blue violet for the white on this side of the face. And then you randomly have like a couple other little highlights in there. Mix a little bit of black in there. And then on this side we've got white, and it's lighter, so I'm just going to use white, and then as my brush starts to get the other colors blending in, that's when it'll tone the white down a little bit and it won't be like super pure white. Can take some of our gray and start to add some more fur over here. Here it's all kind of just like little swirls, and you only hold the brush down for a little part of that swirl. Just add a highlight over that. Got some more gray over here. And then we've got like some black and umber and some purple right down in here. It's a little bit darker and warmer under the chin. And that kind of blends into this dark gray color here. Take a little more black and umber for down here. I think we've done enough with the face that now I can block in the eyes. And in my reference photo, the wolf is not looking at the viewer, and I would like to change that to make him looking at the viewer. But if that doesn't work out and looks weird, we are gonna make it look just like the reference photo. So let's give this a try. Let's start with just some, I guess I'll use brown first. I had black, but I'm gonna go back to my umber color so it's not too much. Of like a bold transition. Let's kind of water the paint down a little. Want to have some shadow from the fur over the eye, so I'm just kind of fuzzing the shape and the fur right around the eye, so it looks like more of a shadow building into the eye color there. Then I'm going to use a little bit of this bronze yellow color. And let's see here. Just going to put this right around the edges. I'm going to put a little bit of black in here some more. And we're going to take some Sienna and some yellow azo. I'm going to put that right here at the bottom. And then we're going to take some more black, put that right here. And we're going to take Sienna again with some umber. Let's put that right at the top here. A little bit more black at the top. And go back to our brown, kind of blend this down into the other colors. All right, let's see how that one's looking there. Yep. Very good. Just mixing more of my black and my umber. A little bit of light blue violets in here too, probably. And we're just kind of carrying out that part of the eye. The little shadows. And I'm going to go back to my dark, add a little bit more black and ultramarine blue. I see this little shadow popping up in here. I'm going to bring my shadow back. That was right here. Or the, not shadow, but I say shadow because it's a darker color, but it's the different colored fur. And we'll carry this down here too. It's using my gray a little bit. And you can always build up that dark again if we start to cover it up a little too much. And there's a little bit more umber in here. Do right there. We'll just do a little bit of something there. Okay, looks good. We'll go over to this eye. Gonna start with my umber again. Just kind of darken up the fur right around the eye so it looks like we have a little shadow kind of going into the eye. Shadow from the fur. And a couple little ticks, brush marks there. Following the way that the hairs are going on his face. And we're gonna go back to our bronze yellow. Just add this in here around the pupil. Gonna take a little more umber with my Sienna. Darken up the outer parts of the iris. And the top. And touch up the pupil again. There we go. Now he's looking at me. Okay. And then let's add our little highlight to the left eye. Just take some white and put a little dab right on like the outer edge of the pupil. And you can blend it in a little so it's not too obnoxiously light. You can add another little one on the right side, just kind of like a hazy little fuzzy line. Okay, that's looking good. And then we can take some, I want his eyes to stand out more, so I'm going to take some yellow and some bronze yellow and some white. And I'm just going to lighten up. This might be a little too much, but I'm going to lighten it up right under the eye. And a couple spots there. And then I'm taking the extra paint off my brush and just kind of fuzzing that out. I can blend it a little more with some bronze yellow too. I think that looks pretty good. We're using acrylic paints. This is drying pretty quickly and I can build up these layers pretty nicely. If I was using oil paint, this would take weeks to do. All right, let's come back to the nose now. So let's take some ultramarine blue with black and some purple. Come back and get this outer shape again. And the nose, if you look straight down from the eye, the nose does not come to that point. It's slightly in. So if you make like a straight line down, following that line, you should have a little gap between your nose and the eye. And on this side, if you go straight down with the line there, then it should be the same thing. Then we got the shadow. Comes down the middle there. And we just got like pure black for these nostrils in here. And then we've got like some flesh tint mixed in here. Add some highlights with some white and some light blue violet. Gonna add some purple and some cobalt. On the side there. And coming down the center. Or you could just use like ultramarine with some black. Would also be okay. And take some of this gray, fuzz out the top of that nose. A little bit of fur there, really short fur. Kind of orient it up and down. Mixing some umber with some white and a little bit of blacks in there too. Let's mix a little more white in there. Just keeping the hairs kind of oriented the way that they are on the wolf. And then we've got some little dots for highlights on the nose. If you want to go that detailed and show like the little pores on the nose, that helps. You can mix a little bit of black and purple and brown in there. Light blue violet maybe. Just keep that highlight on there. And I'm just softening up the side of his nose a little bit there too. And then underneath, it's pretty dark. Taking some more white and ultramarine and umber. Just gonna clean off my brush, and now we're just gonna use some pure white in some spots here, just to add these highlights on the side. Whoa, that was a little too light there. Let's take a little bit of black and umber. There we go. And now I want to go back to this brush that I like for the fur. I'm just going to add some more white fur up here. Just make it all keep coming from the center to the outer part of the head with the brush strokes. Just gonna mix a little bit of my darker colors in here. Got some white, a little bit of brown back in here. Getting this part first because this is farther back than the rest of the body fur. Alright, that's good. Let's get some more black and brown. Do a little phthalo blue in there too, a little purple. Just mixing a little black in there just to have a little more contrast with the fur. And while I got some black on my brush, I'm just gonna add these dark hairs that are down here. I'll add a little bit of light blue violet in there to lighten that up a bit. Cover this spot up down here with black and brown. We're going to cover this up with some plants at the end. It'll be like the last thing we do. Now I'm just mixing some ultramarine blue, some of my purple, and a little bit of bronze yellow to get like a bluish purple color. And we're going to use this for some of the fur. It's got like these patches of lighter colors in here. Taking more blue. And my darker gray. Just kind of trying to cover up the canvas and get rid of this white paint, and then we'll start to add a little more detail to the face, and then maybe touch up the fur at the end and the rest of the body. Make it a little lighter under the chin here. And then for this, I'm just going to take a little more of our bronze yellow and flesh tint. And we'll take some umber and black and our blues for the underside of the arm. And then same thing for the other arm, just want to lighten that up. And it gets a little darker as it comes back in towards the body. And there's like some fur kind of covering it up already. And take some more black and ultramarine for this. Guess we can do like a little something for the elbow here so it stands out from the rest of the body. I just want to make sure you covered up all the white space now and you don't have any little white spaces peeking through. Alright guys, so this is where we lost the footage, so I am going to give you a quick walkthrough of how to get this fur. So basically you're going to keep using this frayed brush, this guy, see how nice and frayed that looks, the bristles? And focus back on there. And you're just going to take your black with like maybe a little bit of purple and umber and blue and just go like this, and then the next layer over that is this lighter one with some white, so you take some lighter gray, layer over that, then go back with a little bit of darker over that, lighter over that, and you basically just keep working your way from the back to the front of the wolf, getting these layers in. And then if it still looks flat, what you want to do is take some pure white or some pure black and darken a couple little bits of your shadowy darker fur, and then highlight a couple bits of your lighter fur, just a couple little strands on like a, so if you have a lighter gray section, if you add a couple little strands of white or lighter paint there, it will help to add some dimension and make the fur look a little more realistic. And then also don't forget that these shadowy sections are going to have a little bit of your bronze yellow and your light blue violet, a little bit of that like earthy cooler color for the shadows. Since this part's kind of under the body, it's a little bit more in shadow, so use a little more blue in here, and I use a little bit more warm colors up here on the top of the back where everything is in light. And then when I went back to the face, I did more detail. I added another round of highlights with the white up here. I went a little bit back more into the ears just to make that fur a little more realistic. And then, as I mentioned in the video, the eyes were not lined up properly. I had this one a little too high up or this one a little too far down or something like that, because I was sitting at an angle looking at it this way, so it looked okay to me. But then after I stopped and looked at it from straight on, I was like, oh, that's off. So then I adjusted the eyes. If your face doesn't line up properly or it's not symmetrical, it's a pretty easy fix. I know it looks like a lot of work to redo an eye, but all you really need to do is like bump it up a little bit, add a little bit more of a shadow underneath or something like that to just move it. So not too big of a deal if you have to move an eye around. And then I just added, just hints more, a little bit of detail, tried to build up the shadows a little more on this side of the face and make it a little bit warmer and brighter on this side of the face. And then to finish it up, I just I used an angle brush to get these blades of grass in the foreground. I used the same basic colors I used for the grass in the background. I just did a little bit brighter highlights on some of the blades of grass here just to make them look a little bit more three-dimensional and stand out a bit in front of the wolf. And that is how we finished this painting. That was about an hour of footage that I lost that I just talked about in 3 minutes, so hopefully that helps you guys. Alright guys, that wraps up this painting tutorial. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more of my fun painting tutorials, and if you have any ideas for future paintings you'd like to see me recreate, then you can send me your photo that you'd like me to turn into a painting on Instagram. My Instagram is Steph Moraca Fine Art, or you can leave a comment under this video on YouTube just letting me know an idea or a concept for a painting tutorial. Alright, that wraps us up. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great day and happy painting. Bye bye!